The Glowing Pebble by Lumi Quinn. Ryan Marsh trudged through the dimly lit streets of his small town, the icy drizzle soaking through his thin jacket. His life had been a series of small, relentless disasters. Today, it was the flat tire on his bike, the forgotten lunch on the kitchen counter, and the sharp rebuke from his boss about a report he hadn't even been assigned. By the time he reached his crumbling apartment building, the weight of his misfortunes had become unbearable. Ryan slumped into his creaky chair by the window and stared at the rain, thinking, is there even a point to this anymore? The idea grew until he couldn't contain it. Grabbing his coat, he left his apartment, walking aimlessly until he found himself at the edge of White Pine Cliffs, the town's secluded overlook. Standing at the edge of the cliff, Ryan screamed into the void, "I hate my life!" The sound echoed back at him, mocking his despair. As the last echo faded, the ground beneath him shifted, sending a cascade of rocks tumbling down. Ryan's feet slipped, and he flailed wildly, grabbing at a branch protruding from the cliff edge. As he clung desperately to the branch, heart pounding and muscles trembling, he noticed a faint glow emanating from a small cavity in the cliff face, hidden from the view of the road above. The light was barely visible through the cracks in the stone, but in his precarious position, he had a clear line of sight. Straining to reach it, his fingers brushed against something smooth and warm, lodged within the cavity. With a final, desperate effort, he managed to pull it free. It was a pebble, about the size of a walnut, glowing faintly blue. As he stared at it, the branch that had been supporting his weight creaked ominously. Then, impossibly, it began to bend upward, as though being guided by an unseen force, depositing him gently back on solid ground. Ryan lay on the wet grass, clutching the glowing stone, his mind racing. What had just happened? Ryan's life transformed overnight. The next morning, he found $50 lying on the sidewalk. That same day, the coffee shop he frequented handed him a free latte because they made an extra by mistake. At work, his boss praised him for a presentation he didn't even remember making. Testing a theory, Ryan held the pebble in his hand and whispered, "I wish I didn't have to wait in line for groceries." When he arrived at the store, every register was mysteriously clear. Customers waved him forward, smiling warmly. Each day brought new wonders, clothes on clearance that fit him perfectly, strangers complimenting him, and his landlord knocking $100 off his rent without explanation. Ryan began to believe the pebble was a charm, a key to unlocking a life of boundless fortune. He took care to keep it hidden, carrying it in his pocket and only taking it out in private. The glow seemed to pulse whenever he made a wish, responding to his desires. Life had never been so kind, and Ryan felt unstoppable. Over time, Ryan grew bolder with his wishes, each tied to his own and others' well-being. But one day, in a moment of frustration, he made a terrible mistake. Irritated by his boss's flirtations with Sophia, the vibrant new coworker Ryan secretly admired, he clutched the pebble tightly and muttered, "I wish Sophia would feel disgusted every time she saw him." The pebble's glow flickered and dimmed for the first time, a cold sensation coursing through Ryan's hand. At first, he brushed it off, but the consequences soon became clear. When Sophia approached him later that day to ask a question, she stopped mid-sentence, wrinkled her nose, and said, "Ew, what is that smell?" before walking away in obvious discomfort. Ryan's heart sank. As he took out the pebble to wish for clarity, he noticed it no longer glowed. A chill ran down his spine. His stomach churned as realization set in. His malicious wish had backfired. That evening, small inconveniences began piling up. His bike chain snapped, his coffee maker sputtered and died, and an important document vanished from his desk. No matter how hard he tried to use the pebble, it remained lifeless, its once vibrant glow completely gone. The following day, Ryan's unease grew as the mishaps escalated into calamities. A mysterious power surge fried his laptop. A surprise expense drained his bank account. A pipe burst in his apartment, flooding the floor. Frantic to escape the mounting misfortunes, Ryan decided to get rid of the pebble. He hurled it into a dumpster miles from home, only to find it back in his pocket later that evening. The pebble's return became a cruel game. No matter where he discarded it, burying it in a park, flushing it down the toilet, or even throwing it into a river, it would reappear in the most unexpected places. He once found it inside his morning coffee, swirling ominously. Desperation turned to regret. Ryan realized that wishing harm on someone else had set these events into motion. Holding the pebble in his trembling hands, he whispered through tears, "I'm sorry. I never should have wished for something bad. Please let this end." As the words left his lips, the pebble warmed slightly. Its faint glow returned, pulsing gently, as if responding to his remorse. Ryan wept openly, relief washing over him. He resolved never to misuse the pebble's power again, fully understanding the heavy price of harboring malice. Shaken by the unintended consequences of his actions, Ryan resolved to use the pebble carefully from now on, dedicating it solely to doing good. In the days that followed, he focused on enhancing his appearance, boosting his finances, and crafting a polished social image. Ryan's newfound luck didn't go unnoticed. Evan Blake, his co-worker and occasional lunch companion, had always been sharp-eyed and curious. Over the past few weeks, he'd seen Ryan go from a hapless underdog to the office golden boy. Promotions, compliments, and perks seemed to fall into Ryan's lap. Evan couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One evening after the office had cleared out, Evan secretly installed a hidden camera in Ryan's booth. The following day, as he watched Ryan through the camera, unaware of being observed, Evan saw him holding a glowing pebble and muttering something under his breath before slipping it back into his pocket. Later, he saw Ryan enter the boss's office, only to emerge moments later with the boss patting him on the shoulder and announcing to the team that Ryan would be leading a major new project. Afterward, when Ryan returned to his booth, Evan observed him through the camera once more, as Ryan took the glowing pebble from his pocket, kissed it, and placed it carefully back inside. Evan's suspicions were now confirmed. Ryan had a secret good luck charm that worked, and Evan wanted it for himself. The next morning, Evan came up with a plan. He deliberately spilled coffee on Ryan's pants, apologizing repeatedly and suggesting he go to the restroom to clean up. Knowing that Ryan kept the glowing pebble in his pocket, Evan needed to make him remove it. As expected, Ryan, thinking he needed to take off his pants to dry them on the restroom's wall-mounted hand dryer, decided to leave the pebble in his desk to avoid it falling out and getting lost. Watching through the hidden camera, Evan saw Ryan carefully place the pebble in the bottom drawer of his desk before leaving. Seizing the opportunity, Evan quickly grabbed the pebble and slipped it into his own pocket. When Ryan came back and discovered the pebble missing, panic set in. He searched frantically, but there was no trace of it. His luck seemed to vanish instantly. His life quickly returned to its usual colorless routine. The charm that had once lifted him from misery was gone. Meanwhile, Evan's life took a dramatic upswing. Dressed in a sharp new suit, he arrived at the office to applause after presenting an idea, stolen from Ryan's drafts, that impressed the higher-ups. By the end of the week, Evan had secured a promotion Ryan had been working toward for months. Ryan, watching from the sidelines, knew Evan had taken the pebble, but he also knew something Evan didn't. The pebble's glow would fade if its bearer wished for harm. And when the glow faded, the pebble would curse its holder with relentless misfortune. Driven by anger, Ryan struggled to decide what to do next. Should he warn Evan outright, hoping his rival's arrogance would doom him? Or could Ryan orchestrate a situation where Evan's greed would lead to the pebble's curse? While Ryan debated, Evan grew bolder with his newfound power. He basked in his colleagues' praise, bought an extravagant car, and openly flaunted his success. At first, his wishes were harmless. An upgrade to his office, a lavish bonus, and a date with the company's most sought-after employee. The pebble's glow remained vibrant, and Evan's confidence soared. But power has a way of corrupting even the cautious. One evening, during a heated argument in the office, Ryan pointed at Evan with accusing eyes. "I know you stole my pebble," he said sharply. "You have no right to it." Evan's smirk faded into a sneer as he looked back at Ryan. "You don't deserve it," he spat. I needed it more than you, and it works better for me. Just look at the difference." Ryan's voice grew urgent. "You don't understand. The Pebble, it comes with a cost. Wishing harm on others, it'll never end well. You shouldn't make that kind of wish." Evan rolled his eyes, clearly dismissive. "You're just jealous, Ryan. I'm so tired of your whining." With a swift motion, he pulled out the glowing pebble from his pocket. "I wish you'd just vanish." The instant the words left Evan's mouth, the pebble's glow flickered and died, leaving it dull and lifeless. A faint hum resonated in the air, like the warning growl of an unseen predator. At first, Evan shrugged it off, chalking up the change to coincidence. Yet the following morning, his world began to crumble. The calamities were small at first. Evan's morning coffee spilled onto his expensive suit, his laptop froze mid-presentation, and his prized watch slipped off his wrist and shattered. Annoying but manageable. However, as the days wore on, the incidents escalated. His new car, a sleek luxury sedan, was crushed by a falling tree mere hours after he'd parked it. His bank accounts were frozen due to a technical glitch, leaving him unable to pay for even the simplest necessities. A sudden electrical fire sparked in his apartment's kitchen, quickly spreading to the living room and filling the apartment with thick black smoke. The fire alarms blared, but the flames grew too fast, threatening to engulf everything in its path, leaving almost half of the apartment destroyed, and his landlord promptly evicted him for damaging the property. Evan's once proud demeanor crumbled. He tried to discard the pebble, throwing it into rivers, dumpsters, even burying it in a construction site. But like a cursed specter, it always returned, tucked into his pocket, sitting on his desk, or staring up at him from his breakfast plate. Desperation drove Evan to Ryan's doorstep. "Help me," Evan begged, his voice raw. The man who once laughed at Ryan's warnings now looked gaunt, his eyes sunken and his hands trembling. "I don't know what's happening, but it won't stop. I need you to fix this." Ryan hesitated, conflicted by the sight of Evan in such a state. A part of him couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction at Evan's suffering, but another softer part of him felt sympathy. "The pebble reacts to intent," Ryan explained gently. "You wished for harm, and now it's reflecting that back at you. The only way to reverse it is to make a wish free from malice, with genuine selflessness." Evan, brimming with fury, exclaimed, "All right, you stupid thing. I'll show you selflessness. I wish you would start working right now and restore everything you've ruined in my life." The pebble's hum grew louder, vibrating with ominous energy. A sudden flash of light erupted from the sky, followed by a deafening crack of thunder. A bolt of lightning struck Evan with deadly precision. When the smoke cleared, he was gone. His wish for Ryan to disappear had turned back on him with devastating force. Ryan's shock deepened as he saw the pebble lying untouched at the cliff's edge, its faint glow the sole indication of its presence. Ryan picked up the now glowing pebble, trembling, almost unable to comprehend how something so small could unleash such chaos. With his friend vanishing before his eyes and feeling the weight of responsibility for it, he realized the cost of what it truly meant to alter someone's life. He knew in that moment that he didn't want that burden. Without a second thought, he decided to return the pebble to where he had first found it, like his friend Evan intended. He retrieved a rope from his car, tied it to a nearby tree, and braving the howling wind and rain, made his way to the narrow crevice in the cliffside. The cavity in the rock wall appeared almost as if it had been waiting for him. Ryan hesitated, holding the pebble tightly one last time. A quiet thought crept into his mind. What if I kept it? What if I learned to use it wisely? But the memory of Evan's anguished cries and the emptiness of his own fleeting happiness quashed the thought. The pebble wasn't a gift. It was a curse, one no one deserved. Carefully, he placed the pebble back where it belonged and made his way back up, the weight of the moment settling heavily on him. As he reached the top and looked out over the cliff, the storm beginning to subside, Ryan realized that some forces, whether seen or unseen, were never meant to be tampered with. The world would go on, but he would never forget the lesson that small things could hold immense power, and that sometimes the best way to change things was to simply let them be. As he walked to his car, he muttered a quiet vow to himself. No matter what lies ahead, I'll face it without taking shortcuts or relying on crutches. For the first time, after losing a friend and nearly losing his own life, Ryan felt prepared to confront life directly, not as a victim of fate, but as its creator.